Savage. What's going on, Savages? How are we? Welcome back to another episode of the Savage Snowflake podcast with me, Jeff Leach. That's my Japanese name if you watch a lot of anime. Jeff Leach is my French name if you perhaps enjoy Gallic films of the 1950s. Or just Jeffrey Leach if you're watching Braveheart and you want to scream my name instead of, the Braveheart guy. Anyway, thank you very much to all of the supporters. We got loads of people over at patreon.com/SavageSnowflake. Remember, if you want to donate as little as $1 a month, you can do that at patreon.com/SavageSnowflake. Support this fucking podcast. Support your content creators. Come on, mate. This is my job. This is what I do. Without you guys, there is no podcast. So consider going across there, maybe throwing $5 in the kitty, maybe $10 a month, maybe $35. Like Dan TB, he does $35 a month to support and have his beautiful little face here. I've drawn him as a centaur, as you can see at the back there. And I'll do the same for you as one of the perks for our Patreon. Of course, thank you very much to manscaped.com as well, one of our fantastic sponsors. I'm wearing the t-shirt today. Underneath this is a perfectly coiffed chest hair. How, you ask? Using the Lawnmower 2.0. That's right, I'm a hirsute gentleman. Sometimes I need to trim down that chest hair and the downstairs areas as well. Keep them fresh and lovely for your lady folk or gentleman folk. I don't care who's sucking your balls. All I do know is they won't want to do it if it's covered in scraggly, dirty testicle hair. So get across to manscaped.com. Use code SAVAGE. You'll get 20% off all of their items. You'll get a free leather travel bag worth $49.99. and free shipping on every single order. And thank you very much as well to Boundless Technology over here on the other side of the screen. They're wonderful purveyors of the finest vaping technology. If, like me, you enjoy a little smoke, maybe a little flower, a little herb, a little resin, or a little distiller, they've got all of the apparatus you could ever hope to get. You've got stuff that can clip onto the end of your bongs. You've got standalone pieces like the Terra, the CF710, the CF720, and a whole wealth of other wonderful vaping technologies over there. Head to bndlstech.com. That's boundlesstech.com and use code SAVAGE for 25% off all of their wonderful items. You can't say fairer than that. Joining me today, a wonderful comedian who I've just had the fortune of performing with at a show only, was it last week?
Yeah, it was just last week.
Julie Austin, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good to have you here. Well, first of all, you've been stood outside for 20 minutes.
Yep, you made me stand outside. Everyone felt very bad for me. They must have thought I was a scorned lover who just wouldn't get over it.
I want my jacket back. I feel very apologetic. I'm very sorry. But it's because we had some terrible miscommunication over Instagram, mostly me not giving the communication that I should have done. I given you my phone number to know where the hell you were meant to get into the building.
You didn't give the apartment number, but I
didn't even give the apartment number.
I didn't ask because I thought maybe he's rich and he has a house and I shouldn't insult him by assuming
I'm
he
a
lives
fucking stand-up comedian. You think, if I was rich, you think I'd be doing a podcast?
But you used to do television hosting or something, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. Lots of it, and I spent all that money on cocaine and dating.
Oh, okay.
So, and now I am building money back up again. But I don't own my own house money here yet, not in America. Right. Got a little apartment in England.
You have your own apartment in England?
I got a little apartment that's in my name.
You own it?
Yeah, it's in my name and everything.
Oh, that's great.
Like I've grown up.
Do you rent it out to renters?
Yeah, rent it out to renters.
Long term or short term?
Long term.
Okay, so
let them have it. I don't go to London very often. I'm there maybe 1 week out of every year these days.
That's great. Wait, so that must cover your expenses over here. I mean,
nah, it covers the mortgage on the property.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's not really mine. Yeah. I don't really own it.
What?
My mum and dad own it.
Oh, it's in your name.
Yeah,
I
it's
see.
In my name.
You threw that in there for.
Hey, I'm just. This is what I would have put on my Tinder profile if I had one.
It's like on my dad's
I
credit
got
card.
my own apartment. It's in my name. It's pretty cool. Do you own it? Yeah, I mean, in name.
Do you ever watch that show,
my mum's.
Instant Hotel?
No, what's that?
Well, it's an Australian show where people have different Airbnbs and they compete. They stay in one another's Airbnb and rank each other.
We have a similar thing called there's one in England that maybe that was the original. Maybe they copied the format from the Australian TV show.
Oh, maybe so.
But it's effectively like I don't know what it's called. Like something like hotels away from home or home away from hotels or something. And they're all B&B owners.
Yeah.
Bed and breakfast owners, not Airbnb, but B&B owners.
Gotcha.
And then other owners come to
each other.
They do some stuff, and then they go, oh well, look at this, it's very dusty. Look at that,
right.
Look at that dust on top of the shelf.
Well, I brought it up because one of the pairs, you go to their place, and it's like a 7-bedroom mansion, and everyone's like, "What the hell is going on here?" Like, of course they're going to win, and they find out it's their parents' place, and everyone thinks, "Well, that's cheating." Any of us could go use our parents' mansions and.
I wish I had a parents with a mansion that I could use.
Right. I kind of do. I'm an asshole.
Really? Your parents have a mansion?
Well, they used to have a mansion, and now it's been split into 2 mini mansions because they're divorced. And they live in separate houses that
Wings.
are very nice. No. Yeah, no, exactly. They don't live in the same house. They've moved into different houses, sold the first house. Both have very nice houses, but complain that they're slumming it now, which they are not.
Are you Julia Austin or are you Hollywood film celebrity Gwyneth Paltrow? Because there's a little Gwyneth in the hair.
I get
and
that
the
sometimes.
eyes. You get that sometimes.
I get that a lot, yes.
Millionaire parents. She's very wealthy, isn't she?
She is.
Yeah. What kind of, what's like a healthy snack for you? Is it like a $7,000 egg cured from the vegan retreat of the Dalai Lama?
No. I eat everything.
No, that's the kind of shit she eats.
Oh, I see. Yes, I do. I eat lamb fetuses with I don't know what. Oh wait, that wouldn't be a Gwyneth Paltrow thing.
That'd be just evil.
Probably
Yeah,
a vegan.
I think she's a bit like pro. Let's not hurt animals.
Well, I'm probably the evil Gwyneth Paltrow, as some people would probably say that I am.
Have you ever done her as a character?
No, when I used to have very long hair, and I would get Heidi Klum all the time then, and I've actually done several.
I can see that too.
I've done a lot of Heidi Klum impersonation videos. That's what I did.
Dope. How did they go down?
Do you mean how are they received, or like what were they?
Yeah. How were they received?
Both. People thought they were pretty funny. They thought they were pretty great.
But I feel like if you've got if I had a character, I mean, I get Russell Brand and Chris D'Elia. That's what I get, just because I'm a long guy.
Right.
A long guy? I am a long guy. But a tall guy with long hair and a beard. Oh yeah, you must be Chris D'Elia or Russell Brand. But I don't physically look like them. I don't have the same facial shape as them. But if I did, I would 100% be, that'd be on a fucking SNL tape or something. Or I'd be doing like a character, maybe a weekly update in them.
Yeah, I should probably do more. I guess
for Instagram.
I should do more. Now, my new videos are I like to impersonate my mom. And those are all my new videos. And maybe it's because I have her haircut now, which was an accident. But
well, we did the show together, like a week and a half ago or so at a Standard. Mm-hmm. And you were hilarious.
Oh, thank you.
And I bombed at the end of my set.
Oh, no,
I did. Let's talk. No, we can talk about it. I want to talk about it because I think it's a really interesting facet of comedy that even, I'm 8 years? 8 years I've been doing stand-up now. So 8 years in as a professional comic who, makes a living through this profession, predominantly.
That's great.
It's great, but it's also great that I love this profession because after 8 years of getting to a point where I go, I can work any room now. I got everything. I can go up in a room, come off a little, make a few choices that weren't right for the audience, not reading the crowd correctly.
Yep.
And have a mostly great set, and then at the end, just have I ended on a real nosedive.
Oh no!
Where I was literally like, all right, well, expected a response to that joke, didn't get one.
But
and then I made a little offhand comment to someone in the audience who shouted out, I was like, maybe I should just leave it there. Someone was like, yeah, you should.
I thought you were gonna rip that guy apart. I honestly, I don't know you very well, so I didn't know which direction it was going to go.
Because I was like, as I said, I think I said it after he shouted out. I was like, I can't even be angry about that because you're right. It's more awkward for me, bro. And I was just like, and then I did a little callback to something I'd said earlier. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, you're off the hook. I'm going to sleep with him or something like that. And it got a little laugh and I left.
Right.
Very embarrassed.
Right.
But you stormed it. And then you shared a story with me, which was that we'd actually done stand-up together maybe a year prior to this.
Yeah.
Where we'd had a completely polar opposite experience where you'd had a show which you hated.
I bombed.
And then I had a really nice show. Yeah. And that's the best thing about comedy.
Yeah, it is. Well, I definitely still have moments where I am reminded that I'm 7 years in, and compared to some people, that's still an infant.
Yeah.
In comedy, there's.
And at any point, it can not go your way. If you don't get it right every time.
Right.
Sometimes you can just be like, this room of people just fucking hates me.
Yeah, I have certain material that I have to be very careful about when I go into it. And I only can, depending on how things have been going leading up to that.
Well, that's all your racist stuff you did the other night.
Oh,
yeah,
right,
really
yes. That's right.
Bit of woman hating in there as well.
Yes, I'm an anti-feminist.
There's some pro Brett Kavanaugh stuff. I think you did like 20 minutes on him.
Yep.
He's great. It was less of a
but
comedy
the audience
set,
loved me, so.
Yeah, more of a TEDx talk about, how great he is. But the audience fucking loved it.
No, but in all seriousness, there are real pros who I watch just like handle just digging themselves out of the worst hole. And I know that I can't do that every time or even 50% of the time yet. So it's a humbling experience where I'm like, well, there's always more work to be done. You know,
it's hard with shorter sets. Like when here's the thing, like when someone like who's a good example? It doesn't. Well, actually, I don't even need to give an example. When a big name comic, a girl or a guy who's already very established and has a huge following, has celebrity and TV and movies or whatever behind them, when they go on stage, pretty much first of all, the difference between their audiences and our audiences, their audiences are there to see them. Mm-hmm. Our audiences, we're still at the kind of level where some might be there to see us, but the majority are there to enjoy a night comedy, and we happen to be on the bill because we're good and we got booked, right? But they don't know that yet. So it's not like they come into it wanting to laugh at you. And also we have like short periods of time to do it. 10 to 15 is the most you get in LA, I think, at most clubs. Right. And normally it's 5 to 10.
Right.
7. Oh, you got 7 minutes tonight. I'm like, okay, great. Whereas if I'd had another 20 minutes or 15 minutes or 5 minutes, I could have gone, you don't like me. And I would have dealt with it and I would have made jokes about it and gone, that's okay, I'm a piece of shit, I don't like me either. And then I would have done some material to ingratiate myself with these people where I could bring them back enough to go, okay, thank God, at least I ended on some good laughs.
Yeah.
Whereas just having to be like, eat shit and go, I guess that's it. It was so fucking painful. Hasn't happened to me for years and it made me feel really bad.
For years? Well, you're very lucky. I feel like it happens to me. It's happened to me more than that in the last couple of years.
Well, not true. I've seen you storm it the other night. So it was very, very good. How does a lady who has mansion-owning parents end up being a stand-up comedian? What went wrong? Who hurt you?
Oh, yeah. No, of course. Well, a lot of my comedy is about how ridiculous that life of privilege is. You know, I do try to make it clear that I definitely am not a part of that anymore and even purposefully rejected that lifestyle. I mean, my mom very much so wishes I would just marry a stockbroker. She literally loves my boyfriend, but also at the same time will call to let me know whose Wall Street son is single today or whatever. I'm like, I live with Nick. We've been together for 6 years.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, but I'm just saying if
Yeah. I'm just letting you know. He's very handsome. Okay.
Wow. That's hard. That's got to be hard for your boy as well. It
is really hard for him. And it's also very hard for me to explain to him that Linda Austin is her name, that even the people Linda Austin loves the most, it may not feel like love, even still, like in the sense that I know she adores him, but she'll also make lots of critical comments. And I'm like, I know that you think, God, this person must not like me. And I'm thinking, whatever you think it sounds like when someone likes you, that doesn't exist with this person. Okay. So like, don't.
It's a completely different character. You have to understand that character.
Yeah.
I mean, I can relate to that. My parents were incredibly critical and very, they weren't super wealthy. We were like working middle class family, but they worked themselves out of poverty into middle class life. So being the best and getting A's in everything and 100% on every test and blah, blah, blah. If you didn't do that, you were a fuck up. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to deny that even though my mother is it was an English literature and theatre studies teacher, you know, and loves the arts and all that, I think both of them wished I'd just become a lawyer.
Oh.
100%.
They don't think you're doing well in comedy?
I just don't think they understand how to quantify it.
Yeah.
Money is how they quantify things.
I mean, I think,
Stability and money for an older generation in general. They're 72 now.
Yeah.
71, 72. Yeah, so 71. That's old as fuck.
My dad's 75.
There you go. So you get it. Like when you're old as fuck, what is success? Owning your own home, having steady income, blah, 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 blah. Whereas going, I just did a really exciting TV thing for a thing. And they go, cool, how much did that pay? It was like, oh, yeah, it was a few grand. They're like, oh, that's great. And how long is that going to last you? Oh, maybe 6 months. like, okay, you're not doing it.
Right.
They don't understand that actually that is success. You know, you're sort of already starting to move up the ladder.
Yeah. Well, it is hard to explain to your parents, like, I don't necessarily with my dad. I'll share things. He's the money maker of my parents, but he also comes from entertainment.
What did he do?
Well, he just sold his company that he had for 40 plus years or something that what they started doing, they didn't continue to do because technology evolved. But basically, they used to
selling cocaine.
Well, no, that definitely is still an active industry.
not on the internet. The internet kind of killed it.
See?
Door to door, fucking, bricks salesman.
Right, that's true. Well, the more interesting thing about my dad is he is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, so he comes from entertainment. He opened the first nightclub on the Strip in Las Vegas, which, I mean, it's not there now. I think it might be a strip club now or something.
He opened the first nightclub. So existed, not casinos, he opened the first nightclub.
It was a nightclub on what was, at the time, developing into the Strip as we know it now.
Mafia.
Yeah, right. He could. Seems like he could be, right?
Yeah, no, actually, that was a comic bit. That was me genuinely asking, is he not in the Mafia?
I don't know. Well, you know what? He's Jewish. I don't know if the Mafia takes Jews.
He could be a consigliere or something like that. That guy was Irish. I've watched the Godfather movies. I know how it works.
That's true.
He would be their lawyer.
He looks like it. He's all like the pinstripe suits, and
is he a
wears
lawyer?
Red tie. No. Now he's semi-retired, though he still sells real estate. He'll never really retire. He's one of those guys. Yeah,
sells real estate.
Right.
Deals in oil business. Yeah, all right, I understand. I'm kind of retired though. Yeah, all right.
Always need to have some sort of a cover business, right, for money laundering.
Yeah, gotta get the front, right? That's how you get a mansion.
That's right.
Selling drugs. If he opened a nightclub in Vegas, back in the time when the law had less of a grip over what people did, there was less transparency. There's still, it's still a bunch of fucking gangsters, the police. But people were in pockets then, easily in pockets.
He may have been. He
definitely did some illegal shit, 100%.
He once told me that his company sold money to someone who owned... Well, the company...
Sold money?
Sorry. No, sold money.
That's a great business model. I like it.
I didn't sleep well. Excuse me. Sold...
Because you were fearing for your life because your dad's enemies are fucking threatening you. I get it. It's all right.
It's not easy to be a Mafia Princess. His company sold product once to a studio. He worked with a lot of porn studios back in the day. I don't know if this was a porn studio, but it turned out that the owner had mob affiliations. I don't know, but he's kind of a myth and a legend. My dad, he's has all these crazy.
How did he end up in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
So he was like a pioneer. He opened the nightclub, the first one on the Strip.
Okay.
Yes,
sorry,
first drug den. That's right.
Right.
And then he was the master of ceremony at the Las Vegas Convention Center for a long time. But he also booked the acts. So he booked the Jackson 5 for the first time they ever performed there.
Wow.
Yeah. And then he was a host on a show called Tonight in Las Vegas. That was a TV show.
Okay.
It was, I don't know, maybe it was on a network equivalent to like E! Today or something.
Okay.
Where he would interview stars. He had Carly Simon, Little Richard on there.
Nice.
And then he had a radio show about rock and roll for like 30 years or something. I think it might be still syndicated. And anyways, someone submitted him. He didn't submit himself. He just received a letter saying, I went
You're
to
going to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I went to the induction ceremony and everything.
Now, wasn't there something, some upset in the industry recently about the people who hadn't been inducted? They were like major famous artists. They're like, how did they not get inducted yet?
I didn't hear anything about that.
You needed to know the right person.
Oh, yeah, right.
If they'd known your dad.
Mafia. Yeah.
Protection. And if they don't know your dad, horse's head in your bed.
I love this whole idea about my dad. Oh my gosh.
Your dad, so I reckon if I had a conversation with your dad over a couple of whiskeys.
Keith is the man. He loves whiskeys and a snifter.
Of course he fucking does.
Yeah.
We sit there in some gowns.
Yes,
with
in restaurants with big red booths.
Oh, I love it.
That's what he loves.
Just in a silk gown, underwear, nothing else. Silk underwear and a silk gown, smoking cigars, sniffed their whiskey in a restaurant. And someone goes, "Excuse me, sir, you can drink." And he just looks at me in the eye and goes, "I think you'll find I can." And they just leave. A couple of big Italian gentlemen walk out and they just leave.
That's what it's like to have dinner with Keith Austin.
Fuck yes. That's pretty cool. Okay, so did you grow up having some kind of... I had Camilla Cleese on this podcast not long ago, and obviously growing up with John Cleese as your father is quite a strange upbringing.
He's opening a nightclub, comedy club in Santa Barbara right now, I think.
John Cleese is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, actually, he's an investor on it. Yeah. She told me
that's what it was. Yeah, with Andrei Belkov, whose show I'm doing this weekend at the venue. I think he's closing down to move on to the comedy club that he's
and that's
opening.
Where is that? In Santa
Barbara.
Santa Barbara, yeah. Great. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Well, it'll be a great show. Bigger congratulations to Andre for the nightclub.
Yeah. Well, so she grew up in that kind of, thrust into the limelight and the world of straight, like music and rock and roll and comedy and celebrities. Was that a similar thing then? Because he was, tapped into all of this? Were you... around for that period of time?
So my dad is like almost like a cat in the sense he's had so many different lives. So a lot of that had wound down by the time he had me and my sister. We're a part of his second marriage. He's on to his third one now. It's actually unclear whether or not they're married.
I also love the way you worded that as well. It's like he had you, like he birthed
Oh,
you.
yeah.
What can't this man do? Keith Austin.
I told you he's man, the myth, legend.
Yeah, he is.
He had a recording studio in our home growing up, and he was still doing his radio show. And sometimes I would go sit on his lap when he was doing that. But that only lasted till I was a little girl when he pretty much stopped doing that. And then
But you never sat there and then realized years later I was sat opposite the Jackson 5.
Oh, yeah. No.
Okay.
No. None of that.
So the right level. So you had the privilege afforded to someone whose parents are very wealthy, but you didn't necessarily have that celebrity nepotism kind of I'm always around famous people. And
no way. I think my dad was very much wanting to move into that like suburban, very normal life by the time
keeping up the cover. Good
That's
idea.
Right.
Yeah.
So we didn't, and he also instilled a work ethic into me and my sister. They didn't we both had high school jobs.
Yeah.
We weren't really spoiled. We were spoiled in the sense that we were taken on amazing trips our whole lives, but we weren't like staying at the Four Seasons or something. We would rent a little house or whatever. And I mean, that's still very privileged.
Still nice.
It's very nice, but
no, it's all right.
They tried
it's
to
all relative.
let us
It's
be
all
normal.
relative. There's different experiences.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I'm not, I guess I don't know why I was lucky enough to figure out that it wouldn't make me happy to go that route per se. If comedy brings me that type of
Success.
wealth, that'll be great. But I mean, in terms of just marrying someone wealthy and just doing it that way or whatever, I mean,
there's a queue of bankers waiting to do it. Your mum's been lining them up. You know that.
I might be getting too old. They would if they're just gonna have a little trophy wife. They want a 19-year-old now.
No. They want to fuck a 19-year-old every now and then. They might have a mistress. But here's the reality. They would have done all that cocaine, fucking young chicks who are dumb but fun, blah, blah. They would have done that. And then they get to a point and they go, now I really want a life. And they meet a woman like you and they go, well, she's attractive, she's cool, she's doing her own thing, she's like talented in her own right, and she's a woman. She's not like a kid.
Sure.
But still young enough and attractive enough to be like on their list. Huh? You're the marriage material, lady.
Maybe so. Sometimes I feel like a lot of those.
They want to put a little baby in you.
Oh gosh, I don't want a baby.
No?
No, I don't want a baby.
Never?
Do you want a baby?
Yeah, I want. I want like 1 or 2 babies.
You do?
Yeah, I quite like babies.
You gotta have 2 if you're gonna have one. Don't let them be by themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I had an older sister. I think she was wonderful for me, and she was very mothering and supportive. But I also I know plenty of people who got like one child, and the child is really well balanced, and
I actually do have a couple of only child friends who are great.
If you've got good parents, you turn out to be a pretty good kid. I think generally, I do believe in that nurture side of nurture side of things. But yeah, I do want kids because I feel like there's too many fucking absolute retards overpopulating the world. There's a lot of dumb fucking idiots.
No, I know you should
babies.
have kids because there's I think there's a movie out. Oh God, what is it? There's a movie out and it takes place in the future in, like a fake world, but basically
Idiocracy.
Oh, is that it? And only dumb people are having babies, right? Is that?
I mean, is the president of the United States in that movie? The huge what's the black actor who was in? He does a lot of comedy. His name is begins with T. Fucking.
I'm gonna let you save your brain. I haven't seen the movie. My sister told me all about it.
But it's about like 150 years in the future or something like that. And the president is like a wrestler, an ex-pro wrestler, and Terry Crews. Terry Crews is plays the president. Idiocracy? No, does not ring.
No, that sounds like I think that's what you said it's called. And
everyone's fucking idiot.
Well,
idiotic,
and I think right, and I think it's like in the sense that anyone who's smart today. Most people who are smart today are smart enough to know, oh, why would I have a baby? I don't want to have babies. So if you're smart and you can even charge past that and be like, well, that's exactly why I should have a baby. So not only the dumb people are having babies.
I think that like all the if the moronic shall inherit the earth, it's because people with half a brain cell are not being fucking proactive enough.
Right.
Get out there. For instance, look, I hate gun ownership in America. think that's I wish people couldn't own guns,
Okay.
like Europe or lots of other countries, or now New Zealand is rolling it back, because there's less gun deaths,
Sure.
amazingly, in countries that have very strict gun laws. And I'd love that to happen here. It won't happen here, never, and it will never change. There might be slight restrictions at some point, maybe ARs, maybe, but I doubt it. So one part of me, even as a gun hating, I don't like as a gun ownership hating, liberal-minded, left-wing, democratic individual. Just left of center, whatever, but it doesn't matter. I'm still a snowflake in most people's eyes, right? I still would absolutely own a gun if I had a home where I could have it safely stored. And the reason I would want a gun is because of the fucking nut jobs who already own them.
That's the only reason I would want one too. But it's true. It's like anytime you hear of a good person using a gun, it is because they had to defend themselves against something that they didn't ask for. I mean, that's
Someone
huge
breaks into my house.
blanket statement, but it's. I mean, yeah, I obviously wish that all the guns could just be gone like that. But
Wouldn't that be great?
It's not going to happen. In
Won't
fact,
happen.
there's a movie where that almost. I keep bringing it up. It takes place in Brooklyn. Oh, I don't know, but it's also a hypothetical situation where the government tries to take away everyone's guns, and it does cause a civil war, and everyone's killing each other, and people don't like it.
I think that's why. And in the same way, I always wanted to have children because I put a lot of stock in family, even though I've had my own gripes with my mum and dad, and we've had, tumultuous relationships. I still love them implicitly with all my heart. I might not necessarily like their company all the time, and I'm sure they don't like mine all the time. That's what grown adults who don't get along decide. But with your family, you can't just go, I'll never ever speak to you again. I'll see you again. We're done. You can, but I'm not going to do that.
You can, and some people do. But the truth is, I always feel like there's something a little bit odd about them. It's important to maintain that family with relationship. Like, even if they drive you insane, I think
compromise and a balance of mental stability is something that I am developing more and more and more as I become an older man or a more mature individual. And my parents are a wonderful place to learn those lessons.
Yeah, no.
Does that make sense? Or my relationship with my parents. My sister and I, we get on like a house on fire. We love each other very deeply. But she lives in New Zealand. She's on the other side of the fucking world. It's very sad that I don't get to see my niece all the time. But I'm glad she's happy and she needs to be in that space to be happy. And that's great. But yeah, I think, anyway, in the same way, like I go, just because I have some shitty experiences myself with my family, I don't think that's how I would raise my children with the same set of problems. I'd have my own individual set of problems. And I think I'd raise a good kid. I already raised someone else's child for 4 years.
What? How's that?
An ex-girlfriend who had a child from a previous relationship.
Oh, okay.
And when I met her and we started sleeping together, her daughter was like 13 months old.
Oh my gosh.
So after a couple of years of dating and getting very serious and spending huge amounts of time in this child's life, I moved in with them and I spent 2 years living with them. So I've already raised a child and did a pretty good job, I think.
Must have been hard to not live with that child anymore.
Yeah. That was the worst thing. And my ex is a scumbag, like a horrendous piece of shit. I fucking loathe her.
So that kid is with that person.
No. She's sorry. She's not. She's a scumbag in the sense that she told me when we were together. She said, I said, if we ever broke up, it'd be so weird because like you're my best friend as well as my partner. It's a bit codependent, our relationship, and I couldn't imagine us not just hanging out and being friends. I said, we'd be friends. If anything ever went wrong, we ever decided we just couldn't be together, we'd still be friends, right? So, and she was like, no. She was like, no. If we ever broke up, I'd make you the most hated person in my life because that's the only way I could get over the love I feel for you. I'd have to make you the most hated and hateful person in my life. I'd make sure everyone felt that way. And that's what would happen. I was like, oh, babe, you're so funny. Cut to breakup of our relationship. She did that and trying to ruin my career. And her last way to hurt me, and she knew it would really, really be the last dagger in the last nail in the coffin, I should have said. She said, you can't see or speak to the little girl because she's not yours. She's not your child. So you don't have any rights to see her. And I was like, all right, I understand you're angry and you want to move on and you want to hurt me because that's your way of moving past it and getting past the love. But your daughter already has an absolute fucking arsehat for a biological father who's not good. He's not a good dad. and he does shitty, dumb dad things, and he only sees her every other weekend, and he fills her full of sugar and keeps her up late, doesn't help her development. He sets up fake businesses to pay himself as an employee of those businesses so he doesn't have to pay child support. He's a scumbag. And you want him to continue to have a relationship in her life. Yeah. But the guy who tells her every day, you're a brilliant young woman, you can become whatever you want to be, you're strong, you're powerful, who puts band-aids on her knees when she grazes them, or tucks her in and reads her bedtime stories in loads of different voices. You don't want that guy to be in her life, but you want the fucking arsehat to be in her life. And it was just her way of hurting me. And it worked.
Do you feel like...
she should die.
Well, do you feel like...
I can't say that. You have to say it.
Oh, she should die, yes.
Wow.
Do you feel like...
I don't know. That's a bit much for me. I feel like even for this podcast...
I mean, she also sounds insane, so I probably shouldn't say that about someone with such a wrath. But
yeah.
Do you feel like someone who...
She's a comedian, so that makes sense.
Oh, great. I think you learn a lot about someone in the way that they handle breakups. So, for example... it's not just like those traits just came out of nowhere once you broke up. Looking back, are you like, oh, she always had the capacity to behave like this?
She had a terrible relationship with her father. She had some daddy issues. Her dad fucked off when she was young. He was incredibly wealthy. He's from a small town in Canada where he owned the local whatever business that was like what the whole town ran on kind of thing. So he made lots of money and broke up with his trophy wife when she was young and went in for a younger model or a different thing and fucked around. And so she had lots of abandonment issues from men. So it already set up this idea that you've only got yourself and everyone else is transient, including men. So she had that and approached every relationship like that and has now passed down to her daughter because she, even at 7 years old when we broke up, or sorry, she was 5.5, but she's got to be at least, she's older than that now. Anyway, she's probably about 9 now. But she, when she broke up, she's basically telling her daughter, like, the men in your life are transient, and even if they tell you they love you, it's probably not real. It probably doesn't mean anything, and you don't deserve, because that's what she felt.
Yeah.
So I understand the reasoning behind it. I understand how she got there, but I came to that relationship and life, as everyone does, with your own set of, failings, baggage, and mental health issues. And you either get lost in them and repeat the cycle, which is what my parents did. My dad was treated very unfairly by his father, and he kind of passed on that anger to me, but not physically, barely ever, but emotionally. Mm-hmm. So he repeated the cycle, but just tried to change it up how it came across. My way of approaching life is, if someone's done that shit to you, if you've fucked up by something, be honest about it, be open about it, control it and command it, and find a way to not pass that on to other people. Yeah,
you have to heal. It's true. There's this really funny... Did you ever watch maybe it's called the Klimkowski Project or the Kimkowski Method? It's Michael Douglas show. He's an actor. It's a new show on Netflix. He's an acting coach, and he has this one student they're doing some exercise, and the student is being very weird and making these weird noises, and Michael Douglas is like, "What's the matter with you?" And he goes, "I think it's because I had a weird childhood." And Michael Douglas goes, "How old are you?" And he goes, 34. And he goes, "Childhood's over." And it is so true in the sense that when people behave shitty towards people around them because of what happened in their childhood, I kind of remember, well, part of growing up is fucking addressing that, because as much as you have an excuse or a reason of why that caused you to behave a certain way, that excuse doesn't change the fact that when you do that, it's destructive in your own life, and nobody's going to fix it but you.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's and don't get me wrong, I feel like in America, therapy is like a very accepted thing here. Everyone's got a therapist. I've never had a therapist, actually.
Oh, no?
However, I've read a lot of books. I actively I apply less taught but more taught through life, self-applied therapy. Mm-hmm. I know my failings. I know the things I do wrong. I know the things I need to change about myself. I know the things I would like to change to continue growing as a person, become a better person. And I'm employing all of those things on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. Some of them I succeed at immensely well. Some of them I struggle with. But by being honest that, hey, here's a failing in me. Here's a thing that's not good, that's negative about who I am. And is that who I want to be? Is that how I want to be? No. So fucking change it. The biggest and most powerful application of therapy I've found lately in the last year is the power of not thinking. And it sounds very I don't. It might not work for everyone, but I realized that a lot of the patterns I wanted to break, I would in my head be able to talk at length to myself internally, incessantly, to the point where it was driving myself crazy and making myself incredibly depressed. Telling myself, like for instance, drinking too much, and then sitting in front of the mirror every morning when you're a little hungover, not fucked up. I don't do that anymore, but like a little hungover and just looking at yourself and going, God, you're a bit fucking fat in the wrong places, and you look tired, and you're making yourself age prematurely, and you don't feel good. And why are you wasting this money on this thing? And if you do that every fucking day, which I did every morning in the mirror for years, you get caught up in that pattern. And then what I found is, rather than over trying to apply mental connection to why I'm doing these things and how I can change them, I realized what I need to do is just go, stop thinking, stop doing it, and do the other thing.
Yeah.
So like working out now, I work out loads now, and the reason I work out loads now is because when I want to work out, I know I should work out, and I'm feeling a bit low or feeling a bit unfit or whatever, I don't think about, I should really go to the gym, what I do is I literally would just take off my fucking trousers, put on a pair of shorts, grab my little work bag, which is there, that's my workout bag by the fucking door, and I pick it up and I leave. So I got everything I need, and I just leave. And then before I'm even able to think about whether I should go or not, or what else is going on, or whether I hate myself too much to actually work out and change my situation, I'm already at the gym.
Yeah, that's kind of how I approach doing stand-up, honestly.
Great.
I mean, I'm still at a point where I do try to do as many open mics as I can when I don't have shows, and I just put myself in a car at a certain time and just drive myself. I live pretty far away. I'm in Mar Vista, so I just take myself over to where the mics are.
Mansion.
No, now I live in a little 2-bedroom apartment. Actually, 2 bedrooms, not bad.
That's nice. That's very nice. Yeah.
Yes.
With your partner as well.
Yes.
You live together.
And our dog, yes.
And he's a comic as well.
And he's a comic as well.
I met him the other night for the first night. He seemed very nice.
Yeah, Nick, he's a sweetheart. He's the only reason I would have a child is because there should be more of him.
There
he's so
you go.
sweet.
And you know what? That's actually an interesting thing. I think that's I think men are very selfish about why they want children. We have children because we want to create smaller versions of ourselves. I want to pass on my legacy. Yeah. My name, my legacy, my DNA. I should create more of me. That's where it comes from. I think a lot of women, and especially women who weren't necessarily enamored by the idea of having children, when they fall in love with a man, that can often be the turning point because they go, I want to create something with this person that I love.
Yeah. Oh, I'm fucked. I guess it's slowly happening. No, I know.
Yeah. Give it 5 years. I'm going to see you on stage. You're going to be fucking Ali Wong in it.
You're going to be pregnant.
Yeah, big old belly. You'll have a special. It'll be great. Yeah, it's going to be good. I'm excited about it.
Well, anyways, but back to the not. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
You allowed yourself to get
no
caught up in
Ali
it just
Wonging.
for a second, and then you were like, do I really want that?
No,
He just loves you. You do realize this is not really a podcast. We're not even recording. This is an intervention.
Oh,
no. Your boyfriend and I met for the first time, and he felt connection to me, and he said, listen, man, you look like a family guy. And I was like, how do you know? Because you look like you raised someone else's child for 4 years. And I said, well, funny you should say that.
I still think that situation is fascinating, and I still want to talk more about that.
I just don't date comics. That's what I was going to tell you, but
no,
you're
but
already doing it.
No, but he's so... I got really lucky because, honestly, if I were talking to someone starting comedy today and she was like, oh, I'm hooking up with comics, or I would be like, no, don't do it. Or what I would say is, if you think you're interested in someone, don't let anything happen for like a year.
Don't do the casual fucking thing, because you'll get a name in the comedy community as like, oh, this person sleeps around with comics.
And to be honest, I don't like to quote my own jokes, but I will try to talk in a vague way about a joke I wrote because it's important and I think it is true.
Hit me with the concept.
It's that it's unfair when we accuse women of sleeping with a lot of people because they get the option so much more than men do, that relatively speaking, they may actually still be restraining themselves. If you had any idea how many people tried to sleep with them, who they said no to.
Slept with every guy that ever approached them.
Yes, it would be out of control. Else. Yeah, exactly. So as a woman, I know, because when I entered comedy, I was single and it was overwhelming. There were so many, and a lot of comedians are charming and witty and cute and smart.
Filled with
and
the same parental issues.
Yeah, exactly.
Well.
They're emotionally intelligent and in tune. There were a lot. I felt very overwhelmed. Like at first, I felt like just options everywhere,
and
you know?
And after the first 30 or 40 guys, you were like, this is enough's enough.
Well, nothing ever happened with anyone besides Nick, as in the comedian world. Thank goodness.
That's great.
And I just got I didn't realize, but we've been dating almost as long as we've been doing comedy. And every day now that I see how it can go, if that first person or first 5 people you date that are comics aren't for you, how fucking awkward it gets because you see all the same people all the time. I'm like, wow, I literally just hit the jackpot. The first guy, he was it for me. You know what I mean? I'm so... Because it's very, when you are a woman in comedy, it can be, of course you want to find... You get
judged differently for being promiscuous than guys do. 100%. I mean, that's true whether you're a comedian or you're a fucking, work in a burger van. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you're a guy and you're, hooking up with loads of colleagues, come on, player.
Exactly.
Whereas if you're a guy like, she's a bit of a, you want to watch out for her, man. She's probably got something,
Right. And those are the people you hang out with. And sure, you could date outside of comedy, but that's also very hard too. I was dating a non-comedian when I started comedy, and then we broke up and I was single for a while, and then I met Nick. But that was so hard on our relationship. He was like, wanted to have dinner with his friends at 7 p.m. on a Wednesday. And I was like, I'll be home at midnight,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I'm around all these men. And for him, that would cause jealousy issues.
Yeah.
And for Nick, it doesn't, because he knows that that's how the world is.
I'm still susceptible, I think, to a little bit of weak-minded jealousy when it comes to my girl, just because I love her. And of course, there's a part of me that when I see like a
Amanda.
guy giving her, yeah. Well, we've said her name now.
Oh, am I not supposed to say that?
That's all right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I've talked about it quite a bit on various podcasts, depending on what the conversation is.
Oh.
That's all right. But yeah, I do. I care very deeply about her. But thanks, you just killed half my...
Sorry.
It's all right.
Well, she's lovely.
Sorry. I mean, yeah, keep digging that hole. It's all right. If female listeners are watching, just because I'm very happy and in love doesn't mean that, she won't fuck a more attractive man at some point and break my heart.
Your manager's going to call and
that can happen.
Have me blacklisted.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think... I never understood that. I get the keeping up public appearances, that if you're available... It's more of a desire for you. But I don't want people following me on social media purely with some kind of interest beyond the comedy. If I make you laugh and if I make you feel happy, I make you feel good, and some of the conversation that I have interests you and sparks your brain cells in a way that feels nice, I want you. If you want to jump on my dick, then just send me the pictures. And address. Send me the address and the number. Don't make the mistake I made. Send the phone number as well and the apartment number. Otherwise, I'll be stood outside.
I make it pretty public that I'm in a relationship, but also kind of, not that I have a brand or whatever, but I have a tremendous amount of material that is targeted towards people in long-term relationships.
Yeah.
And the humor of those committed relationships.
Yeah.
So, it's not like I do jokes about being a party girl, about being a single girl. I specifically talk about domestic life 6 years in. And
exactly. And how things change and what those experiences are like. And you've got to talk about what you know. I don't think it's that big a deal. I understand when I've had porn actresses on the podcast, and I've had maybe I think 4 girls now. And pretty much all of them didn't want to talk about their partners in any way, shape, or form.
Makes sense.
Because it's their brand is to be sexually available.
Yeah.
My brand is not to be sexually available. It's to be available comedically and also to be sexual. Okay. I understand that sex is a part of my branding, and being sexually provocative or, trying to appear at least desirable. But also it's not the defining part of my comedy, I hope.
Yeah. I used to do more of that when I was a newer comedian. This is just, I used to do more of that, and then
more sexual.
I used to do more sexual stuff, yeah, and I do still have some jokes like that, but they are still geared towards.
I don't do you've seen me perform a couple of times now. I have sexual elements in my set. There's sexual stuff in there, but the concepts are normally about politics, but reducing it down to a sexual idea that everyone can laugh at because sex is funny, You also, again, talk about what you know. I've spent 35 out of 35 years on this planet. I'd say a good 20 of those years, I was a very sexual being, So why wouldn't I talk a bit about that?
Not us.
No, exactly.
Not Nick and I.
Nah. Well, you wouldn't call yourself sexually shy before you met him, or were you? Were you like quite closed off from the world? And
No. I guess I meant within our relationship. We're just at a point of having to schedule sex, or it doesn't really happen, and we just sort of.
That's because you both do evening work and stuff like that. Although, yeah, you do also have to especially after like 6-7 years.
Yeah.
You got to remind yourselves to treat each other like you're dating every now and then.
Yeah, it's true. I luckily have sometimes I say to Nick, I go, thank God I'm confident in myself, or else some of the things you say would not go over. Like sometimes when he'll be like, should we have sex? We should probably get it out of the way, right? I'm like, you mean you can't wait to have me, right? Or whatever.
Well, first of all, I'm sure that your partner, Nick, is aware that he's punching well above his weight. He's very happy with being with you. But also, yeah, I don't know. Actually, I mean, look, I'm the wrong person to ask because I made a very specific set of decisions in this relationship and the time I'm spending with this girl. And I made a few really simplistic rules based on previous experiences, previous relationships, and where they went wrong and things that I think were... So I'm overtly honest about everything with her. Because I've lied in previous relationships. I've had to lie to keep someone's feelings moderated and to also make sure the way I really feel doesn't hurt them. But I've just made a decision that I want to be not insensitive. I'm always going to be sensitive to my partner's feelings, but I'm going to be very direct and very honest about what I want to happen. And if she doesn't want to do that, then we can have a good discussion about that. And we can talk about why and how and why that doesn't match up for our particular, views of how we should be in a relationship. And I'm not talking about sex here. I'm talking about, we're very compatible in that way. But I mean, like in every facet of life.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, like I'm very clean. I like cleanliness.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm a bit OCD. And it was very important to me that I knew the next woman I was going to end up in a relationship with, like this girl that I'm with, that she was neat and tidy. No. No, it's all right. No, she's got roommates. We've only been dating 6 months,
Oh, okay.
Or like to get dating 2 months properly, whatever, But yeah, that was a decision. I don't like a messy bitch.
I used to be a messy bitch, and my boyfriend gently trained me to be tidier.
There you go.
And now sometimes I'm tidier than him, and he's created a monster.
Does it make you feel better to now exist in that kind of neater space? Has it been a positive thing?
It does. It definitely does. And sometimes I'll still relapse. Like sometimes life will be absolutely crazy because I do still work almost full time during the day.
I love how adorable you are that having a messy apartment is like a relapse for you.
Oh, yeah, it is. I know.
Not like waking up with a fucking heroin
fell off the wagon,
hanging out of your
left
your
dishes
veins.
in the sink. I know.
Exactly, a dead hooker on your couch or whatever. You're just like, oh no, I left out the washing from last night.
Exactly.
Gotta check myself in. Go to a laundromat, sit there, have some conversation. That's amazing.
But one time it was so bad that Nick came home, opened the door, took a deep breath, and then he walked out the door without saying anything. And he called me from the car and he said, I am going to come back when the apartment does not look like that anymore.
Yeah.
Because he just couldn't be. And I understood it. It was so bad.
That's your safe space. When you come home, safe space. Safe space is a terrible phrase because it makes it sound like a fucking #woke. But I mean, like, it's your space in which you should always feel comfortable at your house when you come home. You need that. You need your respite, right? You need a little safe haven. And if you walk into it and the way it's set up makes you feel anxious or depressed or awkward, don't be in it. Good for him.
No, it's true. And of course, I'm not upset with him for pushing. I mean, obviously, it's a good thing.
Why are you angry, though?
To be tidy. And it really, actually, if anything turns him on, it's tidiness. Like the other day, he had his shoes on the floor, and I said to him, Nick, we have a shoe rack so we can put our shoes on it. And he said, I'm so hard right now.
Yeah. He was like, do you want me to put the shoes on the rack? And you were like, yeah. And he was like, I'm going to have to bend over to put those shoes on the rack because it's low. And you were like, how low? And he's like, knee high. Oh, yeah. And then you fucked on the shoe rack.
That's right.
And it broke and the shoes went everywhere. And then you were both really unhappy.
How would you have sex on a shoe rack?
Carefully. You put your hands inside a pair of shoes and your feet and you'd be on all fours in lots of shoes.
Right, that's right.
And at one point he put a shoe on his penis when it's erect, like just an amusing little joke.
Probably get some Windex out and some antibacterial wipes. Really get things.
Here's the thing. Look, if I was with a girl who was like crazy OCD, like switching light switches on, washing her hands 50 times, that would be too much for me. I couldn't deal with that. Yeah. But it's that's one small thing that I decided I would not compromise on cleanliness of my space because someone else is messy. Like, just don't be with a messy person. But then in other ways, look, for instance, I'm very highly strung in my emotional response to stuff. I'm quite fucking emotional.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I'm a little hypersensitive, I think.
Okay.
And part of that is good because it means I feel very deeply for people. So when someone's hurting or sad, I'm very rapidly there. As much as I look like a 6'4", big jewelry wearing, normally, you know, long hair, peacocking douchebag, which I get, that's part of my aesthetic. I like to be the juxtaposition of that. That actually, I will be very soft and empathetic with you if you show me that vulnerability. However, in a relationship, sometimes I just got to chill out. Just got to chill out and take a step back and have a breath. And being with someone who is so much calmer than me, she's very calm and very placid, has been a positive therapy that has made me start to change my behavioral patterns.
When you say you're sensitive, like, what's an example?
I'm a fucking actor. I'm hypersensitive sometimes. Okay. Sometimes she's joking with me, a professional comedian, and she's joking around with me or just giving me a little ribbing. And I can be like, oh, all right. Okay. And she'll be like, baby, I'm joking. I'll be like, yeah, no. And I have to catch myself and go, I know you are. And I'm being a bit too overreactive. And let me calm down. And I'm sorry. And blah, blah. And I catch myself. And I made a decision that I would do that in this relationship. I also don't want to be codependent in a relationship again. Got to have your own life.
That's good. That's
go out, have your own friends, do your own shit. You know what I mean? It's okay to share those experiences, but have your own shit going on. What else? Oh, never fart in front of her. Made that decision.
You don't fart in front of her.
No. I made the decision.
Then you're not living.
I'll always go to the restroom to fart.
Nick comes and finds me to fart on me.
Bet he does. A lot of boys do that.
Yes.
I don't think that's right.
I knew that he loved me the first time he did that. It's his way of claiming me.
See, and everything works differently for different people. Different people are happy with things. But over the course of my, certainly my promiscuous days, but even my dating days, proper dating days, you know, women don't like guys farting on them or around them.
I'm telling you, I am so incredibly attracted to my partner that he cannot do anything wrong in my eyes.
Really?
He shits with the door open now. The other day I was in the shower.
That's too much.
No.
That kills the sexual thing.
You haven't heard the next. No, I don't even care. We had sex at night. You don't understand. This man is so cute to me. That day I was in the shower once, and we have 2 bathrooms, so he didn't need to come into this bathroom. And I was in one of the showers and didn't lock the door, and he came in and just started blowing up the toilet, and I was like, I had just put something like soap on my face that like I had to let sit for several minutes, so I was held captive in this bathroom, you know. And I'm screaming, and he's laughing his ass off, like literally. I'm
angry with him,
and I'm just like screaming, and he's just laughing, and he's just. And do you know what STI'm does to the smell of? It's terrible, but
amplifies
like
and accentuates it. Yeah, no, I'm super angry with your boyfriend. And like, not just a little bit. I'm genuinely disappointed in the man he is. And I'm going to speak to him. Next time I see him, I'm going to go, bro, you have a wonderful relationship. Your lady spoke incredibly highly of you. She's madly in love with you. Stop shitting in front of her. Stop it. Unless you come to an agreement where you've said to him, I want you to shit in front of me. That's a turn on. That's different.
To.
Well, then,
I don't actively seek it out as a fetish or something, but also it's
at least do it on my chest.
It's fine if you.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, make it useful. Exactly.
Draw a picture in it. Something. Put a flag in it. Whatever you need to do.
What is it? Why are people out there shitting on each other's chests?
Because they're into it.
I mean,
some people are into it. They just like the smell, the feeling, the sensation. And those people, I say, you know, good for you. Do your thing behind closed doors.
Into it because you don't even want to fart in front of you.
If you shit on each other, I'm never coming to your house. I don't want to be your friend. I don't want to know you. But I think you should be allowed to do that.
Sure. I mean, if everyone's consenting.
There you go. Fucking shit on each other's chests. Just never, ever invite me round for hors d'oeuvres.
I feel like it's a recipe for an infection of some kind.
It is. It's the recipe for never having any friends coming over. That's what it's a recipe for.
If you found out that your friends did that, would you really not go over anymore?
Oh,
like
God.
your good friends. What if you found out they did that?
That's a great question, isn't it? You tell me. What do you think? If one of your besties said, Julia, I just have to... I've got to be honest, okay? I haven't been able to live this out for 32 years, and I just met a guy, and we talked about it, and we're both really into, it's called brown in the sexual fetish world.
Is it?
Yellow and brown, yeah, it's
okay.
like wee and poo.
Yes.
And we're really into, like, brown play and shy as a porn, and it's the thing we do. We do it carefully, we go to the bathroom, and he, like, poops on my chest, and I kind of just let my fingers run through it, and I like it. Blah blah blah. It feels really
boy.
good. I like the smell. But we wash, we clean each other, we clean ourselves, and we really use bacterial soap and blah blah blah. What are you gonna say to that person?
I'll go over. I just don't know if I'll let them cook for me.
See, I don't even want to fucking touch their hands.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you know what? Because I love you and because I care about you, here you go. This is the last one you're getting. It was a real pleasure knowing you.
And then you're
Enjoy,
just going to go dunk your hand in alcohol.
And I'll see you later. And I'm going to open the door with the other hand. I'm going to take that hand out. I'm going to walk all the way home, get some Purell.
You're going to cut the hand off.
I'm going to chop the hand off and send it to them in the post. And it's going to be the middle finger
Lady
like that.
Macbeth out damn spot at the sink for 10 minutes.
Out damn spot. Yeah. It's just a poop I see before me. The sweet corn turned towards my hand.
It is interesting. When you do learn things that people are into, you're almost like, you start asking yourself if you can pick up on it in their personality. You're like, did I see this coming?
I guarantee we both know someone who has a creepy fucking fetish. In fact, I definitely do, because I know a lot of people in that sort of, in the BDSM scene and stuff like that. So I'm sure all those characters have done some crazy fucking shit to each
I know
other.
a furry.
You know a furry?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're a bit like weird, aren't they? Furry's a bit weird.
Well, yeah, that's because I almost feel like they look like stuffed animals. So there's almost this childlike element to it, which is a little bit.
I want a fucking animal, but I also want it to look like a cartoon character, something that's, infantized a little bit and cutesy and adorable. Yeah, there's definitely like a regressive someone somewhere who might have been an uncle definitely did something to a plushie.
If there's anything regressive about it, like dressing like a baby or something, I just kind of worry that there's
stuff going on, shit going on. Yeah. Maybe literally and metaphorically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if I could let a pooping couple be in my friendship circle. But I wouldn't be angry at them. I'd be like, you got to do your thing. But I go like, you know what? Like I feel my level of hygiene desires don't match up with your level of fecal desires.
You do have that. Well, do you have a dog? No, you don't have a dog. Obviously, I'm here.
But I would have a dog. I love dogs. I'd love to have a dog.
I almost asked if I could bring my dog here today.
You could. I've had dogs in this apartment. What I would do though is
she doesn't shed.
Oh, okay, even better. I love that.
Yeah.
But what I also love is, and yes, you're right, and I really want to get pit bulls are actually really good because they're short hair and they don't really shed that much. Some of them shed
a decent amount.
Some do, but my friend had one that was like a mixed breed. Maybe it was like pit bull and something else. It was like had long legs. It looked like a little teenager. It looked like a pit bull if it was a teenager. Long legs, little thin body, and like beautiful face. Oh. But he Tonto, his name was. But he barely shed at all. He was fucking dope. But here's the deal. If I had a dog, I don't want the dog in my bedroom, in my bed.
That's what you say now.
No. That's what I would do. And I've talked to my partner about it, and she's the same. She goes, I love pets.
I'm telling you, it doesn't hold up. My boyfriend said the same thing.
Well, maybe this is your boyfriend who shits in front, chooses to come into the shower when you're in there.
Well, he never said that he wouldn't do that. This is.
But that could have been the fucking indicator that he's like, no dogs in the bed. All right, dogs on the bed. Look, baby, honestly, I'll never shit, but all right, shit in front of you every time. Here's the deal. What's his name? David, right?
Nick.
Well, it will be David if you don't buck up your ideas, Nick. Nick, you seem like a really sweet guy. Kind, warm. He was very friendly when I met him and had a good, honest, like kind, good guy face.
He does.
Handsome, tall.
He looks like Paul Rudd.
Like who?
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd.
A lot of people think he looks like Paul Rudd.
A little bit.
Heidi Klum
and Paul Rudd. Mm-hmm. That could be your Halloween outfit.
That's true.
But dude, nah. Stop shitting in front of your girl. I'm telling you. And I'm not, and I know you're saying it's okay and I love him so much. But this is not even to you now. But you're going to have to play in this bit. Nick, stop fucking shitting in front of your wonderful girlfriend. And I'll tell you why, man. Because you're a man and you have desires and you're going to want to fuck this beautiful lady for the rest of your life. And if you want that to happen, there will reach a time where the smell of your shit overpowers the desire she feels for you. You've got to treat her. You've got to treat her in a way that you want someone you're sexually attracted to feel. I bet he didn't shit in front of you when you were fucking dating, did he?
No, he did not.
No, so don't start now, motherfucker. Seriously, honestly, I feel like for me personally, that's like a big thing. I just said I won't do gross toilet stuff in front of her because I want us to always keep that kind of allure that when we're naked and our bodies are there, it's sexual, it's enjoyable. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not remotely grossed out by periods or blah, 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 blah. I don't give a fuck if we have sex during a time of month where there's going to be some blood. Like, none of that. I don't mind if, let me not give away anything about our sex life, but if we did anything that could potentially end up messy, I wouldn't be grossed out or weirded out by that because I'm not a fucking child. I'm a grown adult. But I'm never going to fart in front of her. Although apparently I have done once in my sleep. But whatever, I was asleep.
Oh, you can't control that.
I was asleep.
What are you going to do about that?
I mean, make enough money to get the memory
You've
erased.
probably done it many, many times.
Probably a couple of times. But you know what? That's forgivable.
That's true.
Also, I always open the car door for her every time we go to the car. Even if it doesn't make logistical sense.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah, because I want to be 90 and doing that, and I want people to look at us and be like, "Oh, look at that." Well, I don't know why they sound old. They'll be like, "Oh, look at the old man. Look at that old man opening the door for his wife.
That is
Isn't that
cute.
gorgeous, cute?" It's a nice thing, and she always leans over and opens the door for me. That's a fucking keeper right there.
That is very cute. Nick walks on the side of traffic if we're walking.
Perfect,
He also
as he
has
should.
to, yeah.
That's another thing I did. And these small little things. And also, I also made another decision that I think is very healthy for a relationship. Maybe you agree, maybe disagree. That if I have a gripe, if I'm upset, if something's going on in my relationship that I feel worked up about, always take the time to go and breathe and think about it objectively before you talk to your partner about it. And also, don't use your partner to whinge about those things or talk about those things. Allow your friends to be the sounding board for a lot of that stuff. It's because women employ that a lot because women are better... they build better networks of support when it comes to conversation. They're more open. They're available.
Yeah.
And emotionally. They mature emotionally before we do. And continue to, probably. But there was a period where you're like, you got a gripe or something's going on and you whinge to your partner. Sometimes you need to just have happy conversation with your partner or talk about the things you love. And sometimes it's all right just to phone your friend up and go, you know what? Really pissed off about this thing that happened. And then your buddy will go, bro, it's not that big a deal, really, is it?
This is
Blah,
like
blah,
a
blah, blah.
relationship-related issue. You're calling the friend to vent about something that happened in the relationship. Yeah.
And I know that I was susceptible previously of going, I feel a thing, I should immediately say the thing, and then go, it might not even be a thing, bro. Just chill out for a minute, let it happen, see what happens, talk to your friends about it, offload, and then you can come and have a calm, objective. Considered conversation with your partner about it rather than being all emotional.
Giving things time is amazingly powerful.
Yeah.
I'm not always good at it, but there's definitely a lot of times where I'm like, but also being patient for that time to pass can be very difficult.
Eat a lot of pussy as well. That's a great one.
Oh, okay. That's one of your rules.
Suck some dick.
I do that when his STDs are in check.
Wait. Oh, God, it's the hour, but we're going to carry on going for a minute. If that's all right. You mentioned this beforehand. I was like, is there anything you don't want to talk about? Blah, blah, blah. Some people don't like to talk about partners. You're like, nah, it's all good. And yeah, my boyfriend, he talks about his STDs on stage. I'm like, what? So what are the STDs that are knocking around?
He has herpes
Which,
down there.
according to medical studies,
Fucking everyone does.
pretty
Yeah.
much everyone in the world has
Yeah.
it.
And then he thinks that he has HPV. It was so funny. He was like, he had something.
I've seen a lot of adverts for HPV saying, HPV led me to contracting cancer. That's the big billboard I see, and it's a
Right,
lady.
because there's a strain of it that can lead to cancer.
Really?
I
What
got
is HPV? What exactly is it? I actually don't know.
human papillomavirus.
Okay.
And, well, there's like lots of strains, thousands of strains.
What does it do?
Well, it can do a lot of things from nothing to warts to cancer. It depends on what strain you contract. But I got a vaccine when I was a teenager that protects against like 99% of the strains that can cause warts or cancer.
Protected!
Yeah, and I actually
You got some McAfee
I still got
virus,
it.
antivirus right down
Yes, that's right. I still got a strain of HPV. They found it in one of my, pap smears, but it never turned into anything, and then it stopped showing up in my pap smears like 3 years later because I was vaccinated against the really bad ones.
Ah, dope.
But Nick thought that he saw something, and he called. I can only imagine the receptionist on the other side of this phone call hung up and just like laughed her ass off with her colleagues.
Yeah.
I just hear Nick on the phone, and he's like so cute. He kind of has like a bro voice. He's like, I need to make an appointment. And they're like, okay, for what? And he's like, I gotta get HPV burnt off my dick, and I'm like, that's not. None of that's correct. I was like,
wow.
You don't even know if you have HPV.
He's laying it out there.
They're not burning it off. Like,
he's been watching too much Game of Thrones, isn't he?
Yeah, you know that receptionist hung up and was like, you gotta listen to what this fool just said on the phone.
Wow. But to get the wart, he means a wart burn off or something. Yeah, or frozen off.
Yes.
They freeze them off, right?
But he self-diagnosed that it was HPV, decided it needed to be burnt off, and told the poor lady on the phone he had to have this thing burnt off his dick.
Here's the deal. After you're 30 years old, as long as it's not one of the killers, you know what I mean, and one of the worst things, I think we're a bit more well-rounded about, like herpes, for instance, everyone has that.
Yeah.
I don't think I do, but I don't know. Like, you know, I don't think I do. I get tested for it every time I get an STD test.
That's good.
But then also I could have it and it couldn't show up on a test because it might not be active during the time you have your test. It's so much shit like that. That shit doesn't bother me, you know, because I think after 30, look, I'm walking around with a fucking hemorrhoid right now.
Oh no, really?
Yeah.
Oh God, I've heard those are terrible.
Well, it's actually fine. It's not like any pain.
Does
it's
it
weird.
Go away by itself?
It was only painful for the first couple of days, and then you use cream and you take like ibuprofen or something to like thin the blood and reduce swelling and stuff. But it's actually not bad. But that's being 35. You know what I mean?
Things break.
Fucking grapes are gonna pop out your arsehole because you overstrain for a shit. You're gonna make this sound every time you sit down. Why do I make that sound? It's not effort for me, but every time I stand up and sit down. Weird, right? Weird. Sometimes you're gonna come across a little HPV. Just gotta fucking
I agree.
burn that dick wart.
When I say on stage that my boyfriend has STDs, sometimes people in the audience will groan.
Oh.
And I'm like, grow the fuck up. I'm like, whoever you are, you have HPV right now. I promise you. You know, or like whatever.
Yeah.
And some people think it's hilarious.
Some kind of UTI. I bet there's like half the audience are walking around with UTIs.
Yeah. Those aren't that bad.
Nah. Well, depends how bad you get them. I had a girl who...
they're bad, but it's not an STD. It's a different thing.
No, you're right. You're right. But it's definitely something about your downstairs areas. And again, though, even a UTI, men don't know that they can have UTIs. And they can actually carry them around without really having any of the symptoms and then give the woman the UTI.
I knew someone in college who thought that he had chlamydia or something, and it turned out he had a UTI. And he brought all his bros with him to the urgent care thinking he had chlamydia, and then had to go out just pouting. And they're like, what was it? And he's like, a UTI. And they laughed at him for months because they just thought that's a chick thing. You know?
That's definitely a chick thing, isn't it? What you got down there, bro? Pussy? What's going on? No way. Fuck, you need some HPV like my boy Nick. Pussy. Unbelievable. Isn't it amazing that would be like a badge of honor? I've only ever had one STD. I had chlamydia when I was either 18 or 19. I was in New Zealand, living in New Zealand. Had sex with this girl out there. Like a one-night stand. Sex wasn't great. And I remember at the time thinking that on reflection, she probably had BV as well.
What's BV?
Bacterial vaginosis.
Oh, sure.
Incredibly common with women.
Yeah.
I can now diagnose it almost. Mm-hmm. Like for two partners in the last year and a half, two girls I slept with, I immediately knew they had bacterial vaginosis.
You had to send them to the doctor?
Well, one of them, at the end of sex, I was like, hey, listen, can we talk about something? And she was like, yeah. And I said, and I want you to be very open and not take my comments as anything mean or anything, and just hear me out. And she went, okay, all right, I'm a bit nervous. I was just like, there's a little bit of an odor when we have sex and blah, blah, blah. And this is what it probably is because I've had ex-partners in the past. You've had it and blah, 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 blah. Very simple. It's a cause of... The first girl was like, oh, wow, God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry. And I said, don't be embarrassed. It's very fucking natural. It can happen because literally my pH of my dick and the pH of your pussy just need to gestate and get used to each other. That's literally what it could be because it wasn't the first time we had sex and it was the first time there was an odor. She went, got a test, BV, pills, done. The second one, the girl who I actually dated prior to my girlfriend, she 100% contracted it after like a few times we'd had sex, and it was clearly because of the sex we were having, and you know we weren't using condoms, we were safe, but we got checked out. She was on the pill, but all of that. But yeah, I was like, I think you have BV, and she was like, no, I know my body. I don't. And I went, I mean, would you consider just getting checked out for it? Because I'm pretty certain it's BV. And she's like, you think you know my body better than I know my body? And it became a whole gender issue. And I went, okay. I mean, I think you could get checked out. And she's like, fine. Anyway, eventually goes and gets checked out a few weeks later. BV. Takes the pills. Blah, blah, blah. But there you go. What I'm saying is, you don't have to spend all that money going to
Just go
a
to Jeff Leach.
gynecologist, come
He'll
to me.
diagnose
I'll
you.
give it a little sniff. I'm not going to touch you. I just you just pull him down.
The
You know,
BV genie.
and I just. That's definitely that's a little light BV going on there.
I think that's a great skill for a boyfriend to have.
The nose for it. They said I never amount to anything. Yeah,
Nick
I
had to
I
tell
have
me.
the nose for a very commonplace, mild STI.
Nick had to once tell me that I had an odor, but I didn't have a problem. It was the hottest summer in LA and we didn't have air conditioning.
So you just had a smelly pussy.
So it was just, but the way, and I just like,
That's amazing. You just
the
went,
way-
no, my bad, bro, my bad.
No,
I just haven't.
Oh, it's so funny because like the second he told me, I wasn't embarrassed. I wasn't embarrassed about the issue. I was embarrassed that he had been silently suffering for as long as he had. But it was like several times we were
Intimate.
and, you know, things just didn't go, you know, the way they normally do for a man. You know.
It killed his full mast became a half mast.
Yes, and so finally I became insecure about it. I was like, oh my god, like is he cheating on me or does I didn't think he was cheating on me. I was like, does he not
Typical woman.
attracted to me
Immediately
anymore?
blame the man for it. It must be him.
No, I didn't actually
Really,
think he was.
he's
I
19.
guess I was just like, is it over between us? Like, and I finally just had to bring it, and because I was having these fears and thoughts, he's like, oh fuck, I have to tell him.
Yeah.
And so the way he told me was so funny. He was like, well, you know, it's hard for me to just like be in the mood because he's like, it's just been very hot in our apartment. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, I guess, you know, I don't know what I said, something. And he goes, well, and I just think that, I mean, he goes, maybe I should shower before sex. And I said, I think you smell fine. And he goes, I mean, we could all shower before sex. And I went, what the hell's going on right now? He goes, we could all shower. I was like, oh, and I connected all the dots immediately. And I was like, oh, I have a smell. And he's like, it's been kind of bad. And I was like, why didn't you just tell me? He's like, you can't just tell a woman that. And I was like,
It's very difficult, actually. This is a real... This should be in sex education in schools.
Yeah.
Because having open conversation... Look at how fucking weird guys still are. And I would like to think anyone with half a brain cell isn't like that, or a real man isn't. A real alpha man doesn't have any embarrassment about sexual things and genitals with a woman or her menstrual cycles or any shit like that. But men are still fucking children, a lot of them, where they're even just like, ugh, bro, she's on her period, bro, no. It's like, motherfucker, you're here because one of those periods didn't happen. That's the only reason you're here, dude.
That's a good point.
And also, gives a fuck. It's a little blood, man. You think girls want your jizz all over them? You know what I'm saying? Honestly, we do so much disgusting shit. Your boyfriend more so than most. I mean, taking big old fat dumps while you're trying to shower and clean yourself. But here's the deal. Like, I think if they taught that to children, that going, look, conversations about your body are okay. Talking to your partner, if you've got a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and anything doesn't feel right, like the feeling or something hurts or something itches or smells, you need to talk to each other. That's how you avoid fucking dying. Or contracting something really serious.
Or just like becoming removed and not wanting to do it as much and starting to thinking the person doesn't love you anymore.
I 100% have, when I was a young man and didn't know what BV was even, I 100% didn't go on more dates with at least 2 or 3 girls because there was an odor that didn't feel pleasant to me. And I always pass it off as, I can always tell instantaneously if I'm sexually compatible with a woman because the smell and the taste just tastes perfect and like nothing. That's the best taste. When your bodies are, and your pHs and your natural DNA and your genes are so linked up to be able to fuck, you taste nothing when you go down on a woman. It just tastes like an extension of your skin.
I have to tell you something about that, by the way.
Go, tell me now.
I guess sometimes women are so like so severely allergic to their partner's
cocks.
Sperm. And the only way to fix it, this is a real thing, is they have to eat a little bit of their partner's poop. This is a real thing. It's like about getting your body used to the other person's bacteria. And what I have to say to that is maybe that's just nature
Nick,
being like, don't be together.
Nick, what the fuck are you telling your girlfriend, Nick? This is ridiculous, bro. It's bad enough you want to shit in the same room as her. Now you're trying to get her to eat it? Dude, you're with the dude who's into poop. This is his way of letting you know.
No, he's not the one who told me. But funny enough, when we learned it, we were together, and I said to Nick, would you eat some of my poop? And he goes, you mean more than I already am? Which is not happening.
Nah, but if you eat the booty, sometimes if you look at girls' arsehole, you're gonna get minuscule. There's gonna be microscopic flecks of fecal matter when you lick it, unless she's just fresh out the bathroom, and even then. Who knows?
You need to have a bidet.
little something can work it out.
You're really you gotta have it under control.
Or an enema. That's about the only way you can clean that shit top to bottom.
But if you have to eat your partner's poop to be able to have sex with them and not have an allergic reaction, don't you think that's biology just telling you this is not for this person is not? This must be your brother or your cousin and you don't know it or something.
If that's the fucking the get out clause is a spoonful of hot steaming shit.
And that's another reason everyone should have sex before marriage. Because imagine if you get married and you learn that shit because you waited. That would be very bad.
Then you're going to get yourself some fucking holy poop.
Like, oh, what's the worst that could happen if you wait?
You have to eat your partner's shit to even stomach being intimate with them. Wow, that's fucked up. But I mean, I do think there is natural biology that draws us to different people, pheromones. And of course, that's all scientifically proven. So there are a lot of women that I would have gone, oh God, I just don't feel like drawn to them, or there wasn't that sexual desire. However, I do think that there were at least 2 or 3 women when I was younger that if I'd known what BV was at that time, if I'd had that education that I now have, I would have probably said, hey, I really like you and sex is wonderful with you, but there is a little odor and I think it might be because of this, blah, 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 blah. And there's a lot of women who go through life and don't even know what BV is and just think that's how their pussy smells. They just go, this is how it is.
Right.
And if you don't like it, that's because you don't understand my natural... But it's like, no. There's a difference between having a healthy amount of good bacteria inside of your vagina, which is always in there, and having a smelly pussy.
You're a gynecologist, basically. You know?
Well, I mean, I don't know if that kind of language would really go down well. Can you imagine if I had a girl's ankles here and I was just going, well, here's the deal. Mrs. Austin, I mean, here's the deal. I mean, you have a wonderful vagina, a great amount of, good, positive bacteria, and then doing the right things. Also, bit of a smelly puss, though. Bit of a smelly pussy. It's kind of an affront to humanity.
This is a new service you're offering.
What's going to help is if you get your boyfriend to shit around you a lot, you'll never notice the smell. Neither will he.
Maybe that's why he did it.
There you go. I'm going to tell him. I'm going to have a word with him. I don't know the guy. We met for, 12 seconds?
Everyone
once?
I've told this story has been outraged. They've been
outraged?
Yeah.
I'm gonna let him know, and I hope you don't mind. It's gonna be a thing. I'm gonna say, listen, we did a podcast, and I gotta tell you, bro, stop shitting in front of you guys. just because it's so good to maintain a little bit of that romance. Look, when you say to me, and this has become like sex therapy, I guess, or and mental therapy for us both. I hope. I think there's something. We have to look at the longevity, the realistic nature of relationships. I think being monogamous is a very difficult concept for a lot of people. I don't think it's incredibly natural to want to only fuck one person for the rest of your life.
But it is very nice.
Especially when you say it in that voice, in such an adorable way. Yes, it can be nice to share that and to have that commitment to someone. Absolutely. And I think it's a more modern concept that maybe over time we will evolve to, that will be something that we're naturally drawn to more. And I think for a lot of women, it's easy to have that connection because you have such an emotional connection, especially when you're intimate with someone. For men, it's generally, as a gross generalization, a little easier to separate sex and emotional attachment, However, keeping some sense, just a little percentage of romantic nuance and not secrecy about the grosser things we do, but keeping a little mystery is really fucking healthy for continuing to want to do crazy sexual shit with each other on the regs. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I shut the door and I don't fart in front of him. So,
right. So Nick, you got to match that. No, but it's true. He's got to match that. I'm going to have a fucking word. But you're also very much in love and very happy. So as long as you're working in that respect, it doesn't really matter, does it?
That's why he can get away with anything because I have a higher sex drive than he does. And I need to keep the
I think women always have a higher sex drive than men, generally.
I kind of feel like that's what I hear from my friends that are in long-term relationships.
Absolutely.
So like in the beginning, it might be the guy, but as it goes on, it's always the woman who's
we
like, hello.
always have the sex drive. The difference is that women have more of a sex drive when they are committed and they're in love and they start to build emotional connections and concept of longevity of a relationship with a man. Their sexual appetite for that man becomes more and more, if it's encouraged especially, it becomes more and more voracious. And for men, we have a high sex drive, but our high sex drive is to want to spread our wild oats everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So we still have sexual
things
desire.
that are novel, I suppose.
And that's all it is, the novelty of a new vagina. That's all it is. However, I think that we're able to break that nature versus nurture type of mentality. And the way to do that is to create the scenario of sexual intimacy with your partner that continues. And this is just my way of doing it. My personal thing is I'm not going to fart in front of her, definitely not shit in front of her. And I'm going to make sure that I remind myself to tell her how fucking gorgeous she is every time I see her. I do that every time I see her. And then and we also do some fun fucking.
That's good.
Fun fuck. You got to fun fuck sometime. When's the last time Nick fucking, you got into the car in a parking garage and he went, "Hey baby, why don't we just get in the back seat?"
I don't think our knees would like that, or our backs.
Yeah, they would. You put the seats all the way forward in the front. You push them forward. You've got room back there. Or go a little crazy. Push the seats all the way back in the front. Lay them flat down. And then you use that middle area like a little island. And you can sort of straddle that.
Not that you have any experience with this or anything.
Never done it.
You're like, what's the car? What's the make? What's the model? Here's what you do.
I don't even have a girlfriend. This is all made up.
Every single type of car, I'll tell you what you do.
I'm not even dating. That was a lady that was an actress, a professional actress that came out the other night. Yeah. I'm just living vicariously through your relationship.
Are these porn stars comedians also that you have on?
Actually, none of the porn actresses who've been on this are professional stand-ups. No,
okay.
I do know some who are. I know girls who are who used to be in pornography and now in stand-up.
Okay,
but I haven't had them on as a guest. No, I'd like to have different people on. I have predominantly comics. But we've had like adult actresses. So we've had like 4 adult actresses who are friends. They're just friends. They're people I know and I think are very funny and very entertaining. Musicians and producers, and then actors. Mm-hmm. Those are generally. But I think they all mix together quite well. We're all a little bit dirty. We're all a little bit more honest than most people.
Yeah, I have to be around people who either are just as honest as me or comfortable with the fact that I am.
Does that transpose to your stand-up? Because you. Even though you have you have a character on stage as well. It's an accentuated, maybe slightly amplified version of who you are, which is very sweet. You're certainly more on you're not an alternative comic, but you're certainly on the more. Oh wow, she's a bit more of a kooky girl. You know what I mean? Oh. If I had to describe.
Sure.
Look, Zooey Deschanel has an incredible career because she's gorgeous and talented, but she's also I'm a little bit twee. And so you definitely have that thing on stage, but you also, what I like is that you undercut that or juxtapose this kind of sweetness and this just with very cutting, very real, very honest lines. So clearly you take how you like to live in real life and take that onto the stage and amplify it.
Yeah, I guess I don't really think about that anymore. In fact, I was talking to someone about this recently. Someone who was like 3 years into comedy, and they're like, "Oh, I'm working on finding my voice." And I was like, "Oh, I hadn't thought about it, but I think the day you stop trying to find your voice is around the time that
you found your voice.
You can't find the process of finding it is actually just removing tons of walls you have around you.
Yeah.
As you become more and more comfortable doing stand-up, and just chiseling away at what has always been there.
And this applies to just general day-to-day life for every for the normies in the audience as well. Just because they're not stand-up comics. Everyone goes through a process of trying to reach a place where they can find their voice, their personal voice.
Yeah, and it really is. If you're still in a place where you are thinking, I am trying to find my voice, then that means that you are consciously doing things and manipulating the way that you are and interact with people,
and
or if you're a performer
honest.
When you're on stage. Yeah. So when you say, you do a character, I'm like, I don't think I do a character, but I guess it's because
you have a character.
I'm not thinking about it anymore. Yeah. It's just what comes out at this point.
You have a character on stage, but it's like I say, it's an extension of who you are.
Right.
And that happens to be, look, people watching this podcast or listening to it online will go, okay, I get it. Yeah, she's sweet. She's a little bit kooky and out there and some things she says. If they're watching it, they're going to go, but she's also an attractive girl. But then juxtapose that with stories about her boyfriend's STIs and him shitting in the room next to her. Like, those are funny things. That's a lovely way to be.
Yeah.
But it's who you are.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. It's funny. But it's also, honesty is not something a lot of comics, even though we profess to be the last bastion of free speech and honest thought and saying what no one would dare really say, even though we all think it. I think more so now than ever, comedy has become inundated with lies. There's a lot of lies in comedy.
Can you give me an example?
No, because I'll either come off embittered or I will upset someone who doesn't deserve that. I'm not saying their comedy's not good, but I think there's a lot of mainstream comedy that I watch now, and I go, "Nah, you didn't. Nah, you haven't.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Nah, that's not what you think." Or they'll say things that are barely even comedy constructs anymore. They're more just like, here's me being an orator saying virtue signaling through my comedy.
There's a lot of pandering going on.
There you go. Pandering is the word I was looking for.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Or also like when people go out of their way to paint themselves as insecure and quirky or whatever. So I a lot of times see male comics. I a lot of times see attractive male comics do that, and I'm like, shut up. You're obviously hot. You obviously don't have those concerns. Like, what I mean, not that an attractive guy can't, but it's like, I can just tell they're exuding a thing that they are doing and creating up there that they think, oh, people will find this likable.
Right, okay.
But I'm like,
I like a big,
not
beautiful guy on stage playing like he's the beta, and he's very like, I'm very shy and awkward, and that's
yeah.
No, I don't do that.
And I mean, there are,
but I also do highlight. I would consider myself a striking presence on stage. I'm 6'4". Do you know what I mean? I wear all those rings, the long hair, the skinny jeans. I'm peacocking hard.
I definitely judged you when I met you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry.
No. As everyone in every audience ever does.
But I try not to treat
will.
people anyway based on a prejudgment that I have. Like, I'll still treat them just like the way that I'm proud to speak to people. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be cold to you because I assume you're this or that. But it did run through my head.
That's because you're mature. And because you've grown to a place where you understand that just because aesthetically someone presents a certain aesthetic or voice or whatever doesn't necessarily mean that's what defines who they are.
Right.
I struggle getting on stage and talking as self-deprecatingly as I normally do, and about how all my weaknesses and my fragilities, because people go, nah, you ain't got problems. Look at you, 6'4", man. You look all right.
I think
you're strong.
I feel like when you've done it, I could tell that it's honest. I can tell when someone is putting on a thing that they think the audience will like versus just speaking their truth. I mean, sometimes sometimes they fool me. You know what I mean? But what I'll say is,
they always get caught out. Those guys get caught out. Look at them all the fucking dudes. I mean, I feel like it's been a great time for outing how I loved seeing guys who've pretended like I'm just a sweet little guy, and you find out, oh no, you're a fucking rapist or a pervert or a creep or whatever. Oh, I'm not threatening. Nah, you're the most threatening. And I actually quite liked seeing that happen, because I do think there's enough guys who are, even though I don't like to define based on the state, when a big, tall, okay looking guy walks on stage and is clearly peacocking and has that confidence, I have an outward confidence on stage that doesn't necessarily align with my lack of confidence in my own self-worth. But talking about that, I think, is interesting and funny. That's like a funny thing to go, oh, fuck, great. And for an audience member, they can go, oh, good, I thought you were a douchebag because of the way you look. But now that you've told me that you fucking hate yourself, I'm like, oh, okay, me too. Let's be friends. And that's kind of the beauty of it. But you're right. There's a lot of, there was, that period. We're redefining what it is, especially as a man in comedy, to be strong, or to be alpha, or to be confident, or to be beta, and to be, an ally. Like, you can be an ally in alpha and be very confident in your masculinity and still be an ally to women.
There's one form of male ally that I really don't like, which is actually the ones who just talk about how terrible men are. Like, the men who hate men as a way of pandering to women, I really don't.
Yeah. Most women don't agree with that.
My boyfriend put things in a very concise words recently, and he said, it seems like the trend lately is to hate in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I don't like that either. You know,
virtue signaling. Yeah.
Yeah, I
that
don't.
kind of
I
vibe.
really don't. I mean, if I can say something that might get me hated on here, I don't like the incredible influx of jokes about straight white men and how they're all terrible and they should die.
Yeah.
Because I.
Oh, it's late. It's late. It's also lazy hack comedy.
I know a lot of comics who do that. That it's just never okay to make a blanket statement about like one group of people.
Those people
you know?
will be incredibly popular for the next 2 or 3 years.
I've been open
they'll have
mics
their
where
specials.
someone literally said that they were starting a religion or movement in which all straight white men would be executed, and she got a standing ovation. And I was like, I mean, I hope this makes it into a Comedy Central special, but I don't think it will. You know what I mean?
Or even if it does, like I say, that person will have a brief flash in the pan of excitement because social climate and we agree with that, and no one wants to appear like they're not in support of something like that. But this will all funnel out. The best gay men, lesbian women, transgender people, people of color, and women in comedy, they don't hate white straight dudes.
I was gonna say, I think I like moving things in the direction you want them to. I think should be about highlighting the strengths and the attributes about a group that maybe hasn't been admired or respected the way they should, versus just hating and shitting on the other group. And
don't get me wrong, it's sometimes fun to shit on people.
And I understand
and
there
there's
are
a place for that in
definitely.
comedy.
I of course understand that there are definitely individuals in the straight white male community that deserve it. But the truth is, when you make a blanket statement, sometimes people make those comments, and I'm thinking, I'm sure some of your friends are straight white males, and now you have to go look them in the face.
Was a straight white male,
right, or
lady.
something, or
That's my worst. White straight women are actually the worst people right now. That's my opinion.
They did come from a straight white man, didn't they?
They literally came from him, and 9 times out of 10, if they're that white college-educated straight woman, they not only came out of a straight white man, they grew up with incredible privilege because of that straight white man. They benefited their entire lives. Yeah. And just because they retweet something Alyssa Milano posts or, use a hashtag that seems to be on vogue for that month, doesn't mean they're at the fucking march at Pershing Square, or that they called up their local governor to contest something that's trying to be passed, a bill that's trying to be passed, or made phone calls to their Senate, or like those people don't do that shit because they're virgin singers. They just want to appear popular. But those motherfuckers get caught out. Like, I don't know. Here's the deal. Like, I'm not ashamed of being masculine. I'm not ashamed of thinking that I'm alpha. I think it still goes within the scope of being an alpha male to treat women with respect, to also have my own set of fucking insecurities. That's alpha. Like, the fact that I can acknowledge that. That's fucking alpha. But then there's also other alpha elements that are a bit old school, that if someone hits my friend, I'll knock you the fuck out. Or if someone grabs my girlfriend's ass in a club, I'll open your head up. Is that a little negative side? Sure, but that's part of who I am as a well-rounded
But it's also kind of part of
individual.
just being protective of someone you love. In the same way that if I were out with a female friend and a man assaulted her, I would also take action.
Fuck yeah.
It's like, it's just
You get your boyfriend over, he'd shit in his fucking house.
That's right. Nick would
You
go
give him a
shit in
little
every
bit of
bathroom.
HPV, throw some of that his
That's
way.
right.
Like, enjoy the rest of your life in your shit-smelling HPV-filled house, motherfucker.
That's right.
Yeah.
We'll go spread our seed all over their place. But no, you have a point in the sense that there are things that are still, like, I remember I was in New York once, and I was holding a bunch of things, and I tripped, and they flew everywhere. And this guy walked by me, and I went to NYU at the time, and I knew this guy, and he was like such a hipster and talked a lot about being a feminist, and he made fun of alpha males a lot, and he didn't help me pick up my things. And I was just like, so that's not called being a feminist. It's called being an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, anyone who was standing there should have helped me get up and pick up
He
these
also
things.
sounds like a third wave feminist. Like, I've been very like vocal on this matter, at least with my friends and on podcasts. I'm a feminist in the core value of what that means, which means political, economic, and social rights for women equal to those of men. I want that to happen. I'm also an equalitist more than a feminist. I'm an equalitist. I want political, social, and economic rights for all people equal to all other people. However, third wave feminism seems to be skewed towards hatred of men. Like, men are what the problem is with life. Right. Now, I'm not going to say that there aren't plenty of fucking problems that men have, created, encouraged, dominated, and continue to do so throughout history. Of course there are. Of course there fucking are. But, there's a lot of shit to sort out, and I don't think it all falls on the white straight men.
No, I definitely, I mean, like I said, I could be persecuted for even
Not on this
possibly
podcast.
suggesting these types of jokes.
We have a very balanced audience here.
I mean, like I was saying, my friend who's a lawyer was saying, oh, straight white men do need to have more of a sense of humor about themselves. And I said, for at large, absolutely. I said, within the comedy community, as someone who perhaps listens to, I don't even know, let's say 50 comedy sets a week, because I am in that world, in those 50 sets, might literally hear 42 jokes about how straight white men should die or are the worst. And so, I'm sitting there next to my boyfriend who's a straight white man, and I'm like, wow, wonder what it would be like for me if 70 to 80% of the jokes that I had to listen to every night were about how my group should die.
White girls are just fucking the worst.
Yeah.
Actually, you guys need to hear that because it's true. Isn't it true? I mean, where were you where was the equality when the world wars were going on? Where was the equality when you had to fight tigers in the wild to get food? There's no equality then, and that was all right. Andrew Schultz does a bit about that.
Oh,
See, there's a comedian who's like testing the water, and he walks that fine line between, is he being a bit fucking alt-righty, bro-tastic, blah? And it's like, nah, I'm making jokes. And if you don't understand the concept of the jokes, that where I pick apart everyone, whether you're a white straight dude or a fucking black dude or a gay lesbian chick or a gay man or a transgender, but it doesn't matter. We've lost the ability to laugh ourselves. However, there are great comics like you and I out there doing it every night.
Oh, well, thank you.
And sometimes we kill, like you did the other night. Sometimes we bomb, like I do. And that's all right. That's
or like I did a year ago.
A year ago.
And many times since then.
Which has proven my fact, which is I've become only a worse comedian since I moved to LA. And you're only getting better as time goes on.
Oh, you just had one set where you were asked to leave the stage.
You know of. By an audience member as well, yeah. Anyway, beautiful. Well, I'm glad you got support. And also, you're not going to get any hatred from that. I do genuinely believe that my audience is a real mixture of all genders, races, sexualities, but also more so politically. I have a lot of Democratic and Republican. I got a lot of left, a lot of right. What I do think is that we're creating a wonderful fucking community here of savage snowflakes who are well balanced in the way they see in the world. Just because you look a certain way, or you're a certain skin color, a certain gender, a certain sexuality, or you vote a certain way, doesn't mean you're an abhorrent piece of shit. And that is how we will start to come back together as a community, a global community, to understand that, yeah, you're a little different in this way. Doesn't mean you're bad. Doesn't mean we can't connect on other things. That's what we're trying to bring back, I hope. Great people, great comics.
Yeah. That's a good goal.
Well, I'm glad you took time out of your day to come and share a little bit of that with my audience.
This is very nice.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Julia Austin. And if people want to find you, it's J Austin 123.
No.
Shit, J Austin
23. That's okay. J Austin 327.
Fuck, I knew it was 3 numbers.
On Instagram, and I don't really tweet, but I do a lot on Instagram.
You do a lot on Instagram,
but I don't tweet really.
Okay, so J Austin 327 on Instagram. Mm-hmm. What about a website where can people find out where you're doing live shows and stuff like that? It's probably the best.
I don't have a live shows thing up yet. I mean, I will always post about that on Instagram, but I do have a website called juliahosts.com where I have a lot of sketches I've filmed and
the Heidi Klum character.
I think those are on there. I also have a little series where I host the dog park uninvited.
Hang on, wait. Explain that. So what's that? What happens in that?
I mean, I don't always go in with a plan. I go in with a plan, like today, this is the question I'll be asking dog owners, but
and so it's like
no one ever
like
goes
Billy
along
on the
with
street for dog parks.
Yes.
That's fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
What kind of questions do you ask? What are the hard-hitting questions you're asking?
Well, it's never about the questions because it always leads to something else. Like in the first one, there became this mystery about a missing dog, And then I started asking people what they knew about the dog, and
it became like a murder mystery, like a super sleuth.
Yeah, that's right. And then there was, we thought like the drinking water seemed a little funny, and I thought, oh, maybe this dog was like Erin Brockovich. She knew something was wrong with the drinking water, and then someone took her out. I don't know. The point is, it always goes like off the rails, like not what we thought.
If you love dogs, questions, a little kookiness, and conspiracy theories, this is the space to go to.
That's right.
Awesome. And that's all available on YouTube as well, I'm guessing, if they just search Julia Austin.
Julia Austin, that's all.
And find it. Amazing. Thanks so much. Keep doing what you're doing. You're incredibly talented, and I'm excited to perform with you again. And hopefully next time, I won't suck a fat dick.
No, you won't.
We'll see how it goes. Or maybe I will if I get really good at the end of the set. Thank you. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.